Welcome, everyone. Today's workshop is going to focus on traffic calming projects for the Neighborhood Grant Workshop. With me today is Steve Horstman from our Traffic Engineering Division, and my name is Laura Kaifas with Neighborhood Services. The goal of the Neighborhood Grant Program is to give residents a way to connect with their neighbors and do something that improves their neighborhood. Funding for the Neighborhood Grant Program has been going on since 1994, and we've had over 660 projects completed in that time, with almost $5 million going to neighborhoods throughout the city. This year, we have $350,000 available for projects, including water conservation projects. New this grant cycle, we're going to have a maximum grant amount of $20,000 as opposed to the usual $15,000. This is a one-time upping of our budget, and we hope it will hold through the whole budget cycle due to our current circumstances with COVID. This year, a match of 25% is requested from any HOA or crime-free multi-housing project. So who can apply? All neighborhood associations and homeowner associations that are registered with us and are relatively active can apply. And by active, we mean you've held meetings, you just haven't, been sitting on the sidelines for the last few years. Now, it's not impossible to get back active if you have been, maybe due to COVID, not meeting. We will help you with that. We can set up a Zoom meeting or a WebEx or whatever works for you, and we'll send out invitations through postcards like we always have. So no need to sit on the sidelines just because of our current pandemic. So what can you apply for? Basically capital projects that benefit the entire neighborhood. And by capital projects, things that are relatively permanent, nothing like maintenance, just simple painting or road repairs or anything for operations, but we're looking for projects that will be around for a while. So who do you involve? What you need to do is involve your entire community throughout the process. Everyone needs to know that they have the opportunity to have a voice, that they can be there to decide what project should be pursued and to what extent they would like to be involved. And they need to be invited through all phases of this project. So what do you submit? As in the past, there will be an application form and the usual required bids, before and after pictures, aerials from Google, any kind of landscape or lighting plans, and the typical proof of your community involvement. This would take the form of any postcards you sent out, any newsletters that you might have done, that sort of thing. And then depending on the type of project, there's different requirements for each. This year, the application is online, not in the form of a fillable PDF, but an actual online version. But the categories are all relatively the same, and we're hoping this will make things a little bit easier for everybody. So what's evaluated? Here you can see is our basic 3 areas of quality, ability to complete the project, and then overall impact. All projects are read by all department team members that are on our review committee, which represent a really good cross-section from everyone from fire and PD to traffic, streets, parks. Pretty much everybody's involved, and they're all looking at the same criteria. So your application is going to be read by a diverse group, and you kind of need to keep that in mind. You want to be clear, you want to be concise, you want to tell your story, but you really don't want to put in a whole lot of detail that's going to not be meaningful to the readers. So really try and focus it down. We're hoping this year that the online format will be a little bit conducive to that. It also will provide you an opportunity to upload your budget, upload all the pictures, any kind of documents that in the past you might have attached as a PDF. But this This evaluation criteria will be posted on our website, so you'll be able to see that. So the other thing we'd like to bring up is that you don't have to limit your efforts to just your own neighborhood, but if you have a neighborhood that's maybe adjacent to you or an HOA that's adjacent to you, you can combine your efforts and submit a joint application. A lot of times a street project might do that, or maybe a park that you share, and that makes you eligible for a larger amount of money. Since each neighborhood association or HOA can apply for up to $20,000, if you combine your efforts, you can have a larger impact with, say, 40 or even 60,000 if you had 3 entities. This is an example of one of those. So at this point, we're going to talk a little bit more about traffic calming and kind of get more into the specifics, and I'll turn it over to Steve.
Oh, thanks, Laura. So my name is Steve Forstman. I'm with Traffic Engineering. And I just want to provide a little bit more information about submitting a grant application for traffic calming improvements. We have a couple of examples on the next couple slides. Laura, if you could go to the next slide. So here we have a couple of speed cushions and a median. Speed cushions tend to provide the most benefit for the cost and tend to be the most often used. Medians, we install in the middle of the street to narrow the travel lanes, and it generally causes drivers to slow down as they pass through there. This can become quite not as effective if there's shoulders or bike lanes. If we go to the next slide, there's a couple of traffic circles here in a median. Traffic circles vary in size. They are always located within an intersection, and we size them so that we deflect the path of vehicles traveling through the intersection, but at the same time still allowing emergency vehicles access through the intersection. Most of the pictures that you've seen have had landscaping, and we do require with these grant projects that they be native plants that can survive without irrigation after they're established. The city will not be responsible for maintaining any of the landscaping in these new traffic calming devices. The city will, though, we will install the permanent signs that you see here on the approaches and within the devices. We'll paint the curbs, we'll install pavement markings to warn drivers in advance and to make the devices a little bit more visible. Next slide. So any changes in the public right-of-way must be reviewed and approved by the Engineering and Transportation Division. And so the first step is to contact traffic engineering staff. Next slide. And this is a quick overview of the process. So you would set up your initial meeting with traffic engineering staff, most likely me. We'll discuss the issues in the neighborhood. After the meeting, I might order traffic data. I'll probably go out, actually, we'll order the traffic data, and then the applicant will organize a neighborhood meeting, probably online, to explain the project to the neighbors, to gather input from other residents, and also to work on collecting the required level of approval from the residents. And then the final step would be to receive bids for the design or the work. These bids have to be reviewed and approved prior to turning in the grant. And the next slide. So with that next step, the first step would be meeting with me. We would discuss the issues out there, and then, as I mentioned on the earlier slide, we might collect traffic data. This might be traffic volumes, speeds. If part of the problem is cut through traffic, we might do an origin destination study just to see who's entering and who's exiting the neighborhood in a short amount of time to get an idea of cut through. We'll also look at the street to look at speed limits, the existing utilities out there, number of lanes, whether there's a center lane or bike lanes, traffic crash history, and other things like that. If devices other than speed cushions are proposed, I can try to help identify a design professional who can prepare plans for the work. Next page. So devices that will require a plan designed by a registered professional engineer would include speed tables, traffic circles, medians, chicanes, or planters. Speed cushions are really the only exception. The city does have standard detail and specifications for the speed cushions, and I can help prepare a map showing the locations and the spacing of the speed cushions, so there wouldn't be an additional design step required. All traffic calming devices must be constructed by a contractor who has the proper license and insurance to work within the public right of way. And then if you do have to take that initial step of design, the cost of that design may prohibit construction during the same grant cycle, and you may need to wait till a later grant cycle, but we can discuss that in our meeting. Next slide. So I think, Laura, we're going to take back over.
Yeah, I'll take it from here. Thanks, Steve.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, so this kind of will summarize a little bit, give you another visual of exactly how this will all come down. So you've done the first step, you've attended this workshop. The next step will be for you to contact Neighborhood Services, our office, and Traffic Engineering to discuss what it is you are looking to. What you need to really focus on at this point is what is the problem you're trying to solve. Think about that, think about what it looks like, what you're seeing on the street. And then when you meet with us, explain it to us, explain exactly where you're trying to go with this. And traffic engineering will then come up with some proposed strategies, maybe some solutions, and seek some traffic volume and other data that will help inform what's the best solution for your problem. At that point, once the data has been collected, we will bring it back to you, and it'll be time to meet with your neighbors and discuss what it is you would really like to pursue at that time. At the second meeting, you would also possibly want to discuss who's going to do what and make any necessary decisions as to what your project will entail. I also would say at this time, it's a good idea to try and divide and conquer a little bit. Sometimes we see one person from the neighborhood try and take on a project, and it can be daunting. So sometimes maybe you can divide it up and you have somebody go seek the bids and someone else write the grant, and just take on the different tasks. Maybe someone else is involved with the communication to the neighborhood. Okay, and then from that point on, in the February-March timeframe, you'll want to get bids from your contractor. Once these bids come in, you'll want to let Steve take a look at them, make sure that that they've understood what you're asking for and that the bids are accurate for the work that needs to be done. And those will then get included in your grant application. So between that kind of spring timeframe, you'll be preparing your grant application, getting your bids and that sort of thing. What we would suggest then is that by no later than April 20th, you submit your draft grant application to Neighborhood Services and let us look it over. Let us make sure you haven't forgotten something, that you've got all the necessary components. And then our final deadline is April 27th at 5 o'clock. At that point, it needs to be fully complete. We will not be able to accept anything after 5 p.m. on that day. So then what happens? Well, around May and June, the staff committee will review the applications, we'll sort through them, we'll make recommendations, we'll be looking at the site, assessing things on a number of levels, and we'll make some final recommendations for the city council. Council normally votes on this in July. Occasionally it's been August. And in August, after that city council meeting, you'll receive a letter from us with notice of whether you've been approved or denied for your grant. Just following that, we'll be following up. Traffic engineering will get with you and let you know what the next steps are, what permits you'll need, whether it's for paving or whether you need to hire a design professional or whatever it may be, depending on your project. So then once your permits are secured, traffic engineering gives the contractor the go-ahead to start work. And here it is kind of all in a little sheet in case you wanted to print this off. but it goes through those dates. And with the final date on here being June 30th of 2022, that's when all the work needs to be completed. So I know we're here to talk about traffic calming today, but we just want to reiterate there are a number of type of projects that are potentially beneficial to your community. You might want to consider art, some improvements to your neighborhood park, possibly something like a community garden. That we have a whole number of ideas. And if you visit our website, you'll be able to see a whole bunch of those, as well as grant applications that others have processed through with success. And finally, we are having a few more workshops this month for different types of projects. If you want to tune into one of those, we can answer questions about those types as well. On the 15th, we're going to deal with landscaping and environmental improvement projects. So that could be anything from planting street trees to what other ones have we done? We've done butterfly gardens. We've done community gardens that have needed some equipment. So anything that might benefit the overall environment or landscaping in your neighborhood. If you're an HOA, we held a specific HOA workshop that really is a little bit different in scope, because when you're doing your landscape improvements, you're going to have to process through community development for necessary permits. It's a little bit more complex. Not undoable, but just there's a few more steps, because everything that you see on an HOA's property has been processed through planning, and any amendments to that would need to go through a process. And then art projects. We're going to do a workshop on December 17th at noon, and at Parks December 21st at 11:30 a.m. All these will be online, similar to this one. And if you'd like more info or the links to those workshops, if you could visit tempe.gov/neighborhood grants, you'll find all the information there, as well as all of our contact information if you'd like to set up a one-on-one meeting. We're happy to help with any of that. With that, here is our final slide with our staff contacts. And we appreciate you attending. Steve, any final words?
No, I was going to say, just give me, send me an email. We can set up a meeting or just have a phone conversation and go from there.
All right. Well, thank you all. Thanks, Steve, and hope to see you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, that was a little brutal, huh? Sometimes it's easier when there's people. I don't know why.
I know.
Isn't that weird?
It's almost like it's a little too casual or something.
I don't know. I'm much, when I have an audience, it's like much better for me. Yikers.